He was very proud of his family. He would line all four of us up and say, "Okay, girls, do the thing, do the thing." And we all would in sync do our hero. My hero.
Became this thing, and I mean, but he was our hero. Like he was our hero. So it was very cute. And of course we grew out of doing that, but like to this day, he's my hero. Yeah, in my head, I see him as this really amazing man. I think that he balanced being a father and a firefighter really well. He loved for us to go and visit him at work, even when he was busy, even when, he was gone for 24 hours or for a while, he was always there. Like, I knew my dad would always show up. And even when he was at work, he would, we would play sports and he would drive the fire engine and go to our sporting events and be able to watch. And it was so nice to just, be like the cool kid that had the dad that brought the fire engine. Something that about him that I really like to hold on to is a sense of humor. All of his silly jokes and his laugh and just, and the values of family.
Dad was funny all the time. He loved God and his family. He was fun. He was so fun. He was a giver. I mean, at the end of the day, his goal always was to help somebody in need or seek out the person looking for help. You can always help, and there's always an opportunity to do more.
He loved his motorcycle. He got a brand new motorcycle, and to this day, in fact, last weekend, the guys did the Hendy ride. There was a bunch of them when Steve had his bike, and they all, gosh, it must have been a good half dozen or maybe more, and they would ride over the North Cascades to Winthrop.
During that time, Hendy and I established a special bond. We became brothers. He promised my parents and my wife that working together, he would always protect me and keep me safe.
So Hendy loved the fire service, he loved his family, and he was very dedicated to giving the best service, whether that's on a 911 call or just customer service. He got a ton of respect for just the person that he was. Super humble, took his job serious, but fun to be around. Super understanding, but held you accountable.
And we got a call for a motor vehicle accident out at Martin and Marvin. And what had happened, it was witnessed by people that this guy driving down the road, his car went off the side of the road, kind of crashed into the side there a little bit right at Martin and Marvin, and he was unconscious. It was the first day that the defib unit was put into use, and Steve yelled at me. He said, "Get the defib unit." And he didn't even think, he just did it. But the long end of the story is that this gentleman had had a heart attack while he was driving. And because of Steve, that protocol was changed. We had the opportunity to meet that gentleman and talk with him after.
Wow.
And it was a very moving experience. You don't often get a chance to talk to somebody after CPR has been performed.
They were both very much like, screw the rules. We are going to save a life. Life is more important than rules, and we're going to do what we need to do. So my dad wanted to help other people, not just children. And so he started to give out greeting cards to, wondering, because he wants to know, how can we help? How can we do more? Because he always wanted to do more for the community. He always wanted to help more. And so he would send greeting cards to people that he would have on an emergency, and he would send them, cards just to help them feel better. He was always trying to figure out what else he can do to help the community. He went through a house and it was like, well, check the battery. And so he would have Pat Harn go through, because he's very tall. And so Pat would check the batteries to see if they need to be replaced or if they needed new smoke detectors, and if they did, then the next day he'd be bringing them a new smoke detector and installing it for them. And he was just always trying to do whatever he can to make the community safe, and whatever he could do to help. He was always thinking of his community and other people.
Nobody wanted to disappoint Steve, because he was giving. He was positive. He worked through some pretty tough times with his physical problems.
Because you trusted him, and he gained a ton of respect and trust amongst his crews because he led by example.
I started firefighting in about 1971, 72. And of all the people that I have ever worked with, all of them, Lacey, Olympia, Tumwater, any of them, Steve would be number one on my list for an honest, good man who started out as a not so good lifestyle, turned it around and became an absolute example for everybody who ever met him.
And the fire department just truly is a family. And when your family needs help, and if you're sick, your family comes to help you. And that's the same with the fire department, with Lacey Fire Department. They came and helped Dad and helped us. And they've done that my entire life.
On the books, Steve never missed a shift. That's part of being in the fire family. Once you're a firefighter and you're in the family, you're there. And if something happens, we rally to take care of you.
When my dad got sick the first time, he was in the middle of building our house, doing it all on his own. He had some friends that would come in and help, but it was a big job. And then he got sick. He had friends that would come in and help and take over, and also he couldn't go to work, and we had a house to build. So I believe a lot of his coworkers, because they are a family, and they take care of each other, and they worked his shifts for him, so he wouldn't run out of money to be able to finish building his house, and so his family could be taken care of. And they stepped in as our family and took care of us in a lot of different ways until my dad could get back on his feet. And because that's what fire departments do, they are a family.
Hey, Coop. I'm Ryan. How you doing, buddy? You doing okay? Wait, I got something here for you. Oh, a Hendy bear. Hold on to that. All right. Hold on to the Hendy bear there. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And our mom had said that Dad it was a rough night. We're like, oh no, what happened? And she had said that there was an injury with a kiddo. So we were wanting to help this child somehow. I think it was a call where the child was afraid there was firefighters because they wear all this gear and they're kind of scary looking, and was just like, I wish we could make things easier for these little kids. And we're like, can we give them a stuffed animal? We said that we could buy a couple and see how it goes, and to give out to children in stressful situations, whether it's them or, you know, whoever they're with. Ease their heart a little bit, because I think that there's something very delicate about a stuffed animal. We bought some teddy bears with our allowance, and we were just so excited to get them on the fire engine. It grew to the point where we started collecting stuffed animals that people just wanted to donate. The fire department was turned into a drop-off place for your old stuffed animals if they were still in good shape. So there would be just bins and bins at the fire departments here in Lacey would just have stuffed animals ready for children that may need it. And it just kind of blossomed from there. It created such a sense of peace in traumatic situations. And then it just spread like wildfire throughout different communities, the state, other states, and then it just went worldwide. It's a great thing that my dad started.
And I remember the story that my dad went on a call, and there was this little girl that climbed a tree, and we all climbed trees when we were little, and she couldn't get down. She climbed up so high, and she could not get down, and she was so scared, and they had the ladder truck out there, and they were climbing, but she just wouldn't come down. They're trying to get her to come down, and Dad grabbed one of the stuffed animals and brought it up there, and was like, here, can I give you this to you, and we can get down this tree together? And he did, and she took it, and she just softened immediately, and it took her mind off of being so high up in a tree.
He had 13 siblings. His mother passed away when he was 7, leaving a 2-week-old baby, was the youngest. And his father remarried a wonderful lady that had 7 kids, and then they had 2 between themselves. And so everyone did live under the same roof, because everyone was all the same age, essentially, from the yours and mine. And the boys slept in the garage on pull-down bunks, and the girls were in one room in the house. They lived in a 2-bedroom house. They had to have chains and locks on the refrigerator, because having that many mouths to feed, you would just be out of food every day.
He openly told us that he was the bodyguard for the vice president of the Hells Angels. And he thought that there had been a contract put out on him, and he knew he couldn't stay down there. So he took off, headed up I-5, went north, got outside of Lacey, and his car broke down. And he walked over, found a phone booth, and opened it up to churches and pointed to one, and I think it was the Evergreen Church up on the west side of Olympia. And he called him up and he said, "My car's broke down, I'm on the freeway, I need help."
If you don't know much about Hendy, he had a bit of a rough childhood and upbringing. He was not going down the right path. He was into drugs, and he was actually a member of the Hells Angel. After spending some time doing that stuff, he actually wanted to change his life around. And so he would move to Washington State to better himself, and that's where he met his wife, Lynn, and she got him involved in the church. He started working construction, and then he wanted to start bettering his life and bettering his community, so he started the fire service. So I think it's pretty amazing how he went from, the worst of the worst, paths you could do, and turn it around to do something amazing like he did.
It was unbelievable. The whole way from the west side of Olympia all the way to the cemetery down here off Riddle, and everybody just stopped. There was a police officer at every turn to stop every light. It was unbelievable.
Capitol is paging for Lieutenant Steve Henderson in Engine 34. Lieutenant Henderson lived his life courageously and now has answered his final alarm. For 20 years of faithful, enthusiastic, and professional service, your brothers and sisters from Lacey Fire District, Thurston County, and the state of Washington salute you and bid you a fond farewell. Thank you for making a difference. Capitol Clear, 1347, KQT 456.
But I do think that he would be proud of his legacy. Like, he's touched a lot of people, he's special to everyone, and he's left such a lasting impression so many years later on so many people.
Since then, we have a policy in our fire district that allows people to share their sick leave. So you can donate your sick leave, and that was mostly due to Hendy. So that was just another legacy that we can remember him by.
Steve just Steve was a quote that's repeated multiple times throughout my interviews, summarizing his effortless approach to being a servant on and off scene of emergency calls. Anything, everything at any time.
Notable thing here at Station 34 is the bell on the engine. And I didn't know this, but that bell gets put on every engine that comes to Station 34. So like I mentioned, after winning the National Firefighter of the Year award, Governor Booth Gardner in 1987 declared April 10th as Steve Henderson Day in the state of Washington. And then a few months later, June 25th, it was Steve Henderson Day in the city of Lacey. So we get to celebrate him twice in a year, which I think is pretty cool.
I wear his number for my sports. 33 was his number. It was her number too. I've worn 33 for softball. It's my way of having him be a part of my life.
So I don't know, I feel like I want them to know everything. I want everyone to know everything. I want to be able to talk about him. I want to be able to say how amazing he was and how many people he's impacted in a community. And I would want everyone to know that he is a hero and he's my hero. He was an amazing man, amazing firefighter, amazing father, amazing human.